Imagine a nation haunted by its recent horrific past. After World War II, how could West Germany honor its soldiers without glorifying Nazism? The symbols of the Third Reich were everywhere, even on medals awarded for bravery. This is the untold story of the profound dilemma, the pragmatic solutions, and the enduring controversy behind Denazified Warriors, West Germany's WWII-Era military awards. Denazified Warriors, West Germany's WWII-Era military awards. The aftermath of World War II left Germany utterly devastated, politically divided, and morally bankrupt. The immense task of denazification, purging Nazi ideology, institutions, and symbols from German society, was paramount for both the Allied powers and the nascent West German state. One of the most complex and sensitive aspects of this process involved military awards. Millions of Germans had served in the Wehrmacht, many earning medals for bravery or service. How could a new democratic West Germany acknowledge the service of these individuals, some professional soldiers, others conscripted, without implicitly legitimizing the abhorrent Nazi regime or its horrific atrocities? This moral and practical dilemma led to a unique and often controversial policy regarding WWII-Era military awards. The challenge was profound, separating military valor from the ideological stain of Nazism, acknowledging individual service while firmly rejecting the regime for which they fought. This solution was a pragmatic response to the geopolitical realities of the Cold War and the urgent need to rebuild a functioning democratic military force. The problematic legacy of Nazi awards. During the Third Reich, many traditional German military awards, some with histories stretching back centuries, like the Iron Cross, were reinstituted but prominently incorporated Nazi symbols. The most pervasive of these was the swastika, often emblazoned at the center of medals or on the eagle insignia. This created an undeniable link between military honor and Nazi ideology. For the Allies and the new democratic German state, the public display of such symbols was unacceptable, a glorification of a criminal regime. Yet for millions of former soldiers, these medals represented their service, their sacrifices, and their experiences, not necessarily an endorsement of Hitler's regime. The dilemma was how to reconcile this. Allied denazification policies, initial purge. Immediately after WWII, the Allied Control Council implemented strict denazification policies. This included a comprehensive ban on all Nazi symbols, insignia, and military decorations. Individuals caught displaying them faced severe penalties. Across Germany, Nazi regalia was systematically collected and destroyed. The initial focus was on a complete break from the Nazi past, with little room for nuance regarding military service. However, as the geopolitical landscape shifted, this strict approach began to evolve. The Cold War context and the birth of the Bundeswehr, 1950s, the late 1940s and early 1950s, saw the rapid escalation of the Cold War. West Germany, now a frontline state facing the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact, became a crucial strategic ally for the Western powers. This necessitated its rearmament and the creation of a new democratic armed force, the Bundeswehr. To build this new army quickly and effectively, West Germany had to integrate experienced military personnel, many of whom had served in the Wehrmacht. These were men who had fought in WWII, possessed valuable military skills, but were now expected to serve a democratic state committed to pacifism and collective defense. This pragmatic necessity forced the German government to address the issue of their past service and the awards they had earned. Ignoring their service entirely was impractical for military recruitment and would alienate a large segment of the population. The solution: the Denazified Awards Act, 1957. In response to this complex challenge, the West German Bundestag, Parliament, passed the Gesetz über Titel, Orden und Ehrenzeichen, Law on Titles, Orders and Decorations, on July 26, 1957. This landmark legislation was designed to provide a legal framework for handling military honors from the Third Reich. Key provision: the law stipulated that former Wehrmacht personnel were permitted to wear their WWII-Era awards, provided that all Nazi emblems, particularly the swastika, were removed or replaced. Examples of denazification: the Iron Cross, the most famous example. Originals featuring the swastika were illegal to wear. A new denazified version of the Iron Cross was reissued. It was identical to the original, but the swastika at its center was replaced with a cluster of 3 oak leaves, symbolizing German tradition without Nazi ideology. The Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Similarly, this highly prestigious award could be worn if its central swastika was removed or replaced with an oak leaf cluster. This policy applied only to awards given for legitimate military valor or service. Awards directly linked to Nazi Party membership, the SS, which was deemed a criminal organization, or involvement in war crimes remained completely banned. The intent and impact: reconciliation and controversy. The 1957 law was a calculated attempt to achieve several objectives. Reconciliation: it aimed to facilitate a degree of reconciliation within post-war German society, acknowledging the service of millions of soldiers, many of whom viewed themselves as merely professional fighters, not ideological Nazis, without glorifying the criminal regime. Integration: it allowed the integration of experienced military personnel into the nascent Bundeswehr, which was critical for its development into a modern, effective defense force. Symbolic break: by explicitly requiring the removal of Nazi symbols, it was a public and visual declaration of West Germany's decisive break from its Nazi past, emphasizing its new democratic identity. However, the policy remained highly controversial. Critics, particularly from victim groups and international observers, often viewed it as an insufficient form of denazification, arguing that it blurred the lines between ordinary soldiers and the atrocities committed by the regime. The clean Wehrmacht myth, the idea that the Wehrmacht was largely uninvolved in Nazi war crimes, was a persistent and damaging narrative that this policy was sometimes perceived to inadvertently support. Conclusion: a complex legacy. West Germany's approach to WWII-Era military awards was a complex, pragmatic, and deeply controversial attempt to navigate the moral minefield of its Nazi past. It sought to balance the legitimate desire to acknowledge individual military service with an unwavering rejection of the criminal ideology that once gripped the nation. The Denazified Awards, particularly the Iron Cross with its oak leaves, became a powerful symbol of this uneasy reconciliation, a visual representation of a nation trying to forge a new democratic identity while confronting the indelible scars of its history. It marked a crucial step in West Germany's post-war journey to redefine itself.